Hopefully I could see him. I've never used Instagram, but I'm on a number of different platforms here. But again, I am taking questions, start and sit while I get questions, watching the Jaguars and Dolphins get near the half tear. Very, very concerned about both quarterbacks here. Trevor Lawrence facing a defense without both of their starting cornerbacks, and he's definitely not performing well. Marvin Jones isn't being utilized much since really the first few weeks of the season. His usage has gone way down. Production's gone with it. So that's been very problematic. I'm also going to check. Anybody have questions here, go ahead and type them in. And again, I've never used Instagram here before. I'm doing this for the first time. So I'm trying to see if somebody could just type like hello so I can see if it pops up on my screen. That would at least help me to know that I need to enable a chat function or something like this. And if I don't see anything, then that means I have to figure something out. So, okay, I don't see anything yet. And again, just in on YouTube and on Twitter as well. And so I mentioned Trevor Lawrence not taking advantage of the two missing corners. Tua Tagovailoa, I know they definitely had game script where the first 15 plays were scripted out for them, and most likely, and they came in, they were very productive. And since then, he's been very horrible. When they had those scheme plays up to Jalen Waddle, they were very effective. And unless they go back to those, I just have very big concerns about Tua's arm. I just don't see him being somebody who is going to continue to be able to challenge NFL defenses. He's playing a weaker defense here, and he's not doing anything. I'm going to type a comment in here to see if anybody sees it. Okay, good. So, yeah, it looks like I can get questions on the bottom here. All right, so in terms of the rest of this game, if you're doing in-game betting right now, it really looks like both teams are struggling here. So the under for the second half is going to be low, but I don't see a lot of points being scored here. Both quarterbacks do not look like they can move. I'm very concerned Myles Gaskin's usage. He went from a season low usage in week 4, 23%. Here, George. All right, good. We got Lamar and Jonathan Taylor versus Mahomes and Khalil Herbert. I'm wondering if this is a trade or what we're saying. I mean, so if that's who you're facing, or let me know if that's a trade or if that's start sit question. I'm not quite sure what to do with that. It looks like a good opportunity here. Well, I'll help you out with that one, but just give me a little more insight with that as to what you like. And I'm trying to see if there's anybody here on, I got the wrong chat up on. Here we go. Comments. There we go. All right, Martin, hello. And Scott, you need one standard scoring, Higgins, Shepard, or Myers. So I think, and George, I'm going to get to your question in a second. So Scotland, what I'm going to tell you is this. Jacoby Myers has an amazing floor and an amazing ceiling, and I expect Dallas to score a lot of points. The Patriots defense is going to struggle to stop them on the ground, so Dallas is going to score. So I think Myers has a great floor. He has a great ceiling. Sterling Shepard is going to be interesting because he's back. Now, Kadarius Toney was doing his damage in the slot. However, the thing I'm going to look at here is if he moves to the slot, Jalen Ramsey plays here more than half the time. That uncertainty makes me worried about Shepard here because if he faces Ramsey, he's done. Love T. Higgins, but Jamar Chase right now is seeing the higher leverage looks. I'm going to say this. Myers has a significantly better floor than Higgins, and he's a good play there. Great touchdown by Marvin Jones deep down the sideline. So if you want upside, you got to go with Higgins. But if you want a strong, solid floor, you go with Myers. Okay, I have a question on Instagram here. So you have two options, Lamar and Jonathan Taylor versus Mahomes and Khalil Herbert. You know what? Lamar is playing at a high level right now. He's throwing to the outsides of the field. He's improved that. And so I'm going to say Lamar is rock solid here. And he can see the Chargers give a lot of running production, and Lamar could take advantage of that. And I still think he'll be able to move the ball through the air. The tight end is a weakness, and Andrews has a great mismatch. And then Jonathan Taylor, of course, even on limited touches, he's playing Houston. He should be in great shape. So I think that's the way you go there. All right, I don't see any other questions yet on Instagram. If they're here, get going. Johnny Football, all right. Las Vegas defense at Denver or Carolina versus Minnesota. Carolina had a really good start to the season. And the concern was, like last week, Dallas basically was able to run the ball against their wide 9 defense. Well, Dalvin Cook is going to have that same situation this week. I don't think Carolina is physically equipped to handle these power running offensive schemes. Vikings don't have nearly the line Dallas does, but I think that they have a phenomenal successor. So the Raiders do get pressure, and I know last week wasn't as good as it's been, but I do think the Raiders defense is a better player because they have a better chance of upsetting Teddy Bridgewater in the pocket and causing trouble there. Again, welcome on Instagram. Those who are here, type questions. I won't be able to show us on the other screen, but I have two screens going here. So, Johnny, hopefully that helps. Evan, all right, you have half-point PPR, Moss or Edmonds. You know, Zach Moss played a season high, I believe 74% of the snaps last week after 56% in the two previous weeks. He's been majorly used in the red zone. I think his role in this offense is very stable right now. Now, watch it be wrong on Monday. But right now, I've got to go with that. Chase Edmonds is facing a Browns defense that has a pretty nasty front. And I think that he's still limited with the injury a bit. So I'm going to take the healthy Zach Moss here. I think Moss has a similar floor, and I think his touchdown ability that he's shown this year gives him greater upside. Tennessee's very vulnerable down in that area of the field. All right, and let me see. Randy, all right, man, good to see him. You have Tyson and Trey Sermon on your bench, and that'd be good. Would you drop either both to speculate? Yes. So, all right. Look, Jared Patterson, the interesting thing here, if and Wadeo, I see your question. I'm going to get to that on Instagram in a minute. So if I have Gibson in a lot of leagues, and when I could get Patterson, I have him because I don't like having a direct backup. But when you tell me you guys got a stress fracture in his shin, to me, it's a matter of when, not if. And so in those cases, Patterson is a great stash. But I think Stevens is a phenomenal stash because I do believe if he gets on the field and if Damien Williams gets dinged up anymore, I really believe that Stevenson can be dominant in the second half, especially when the Patriots get their offensive line back healthy. So I think he's a great investment down the stretch. Patterson, I know Patterson will split more with McKissick than Gibson does. So I think that's your way to go. Trey Sermon or Williams could both go bye-bye. You add both of those running backs to them. I would advocate that. Wadeo, PPR, Hilton or Damien Harris? Yeah, it's a tough question. So Damien Harris is playing. He has a rib issue. I think Dallas is able to get a lead against them. Damien Harris has games where he plays 30% of the snaps. Not good. And he is reliant on those short touchdowns and then game script. Now, Hilton's coming back from an extended layoff, so we don't know how many snaps he's going to play. So I'm going to tell you this. If you want a solid, it sounds stupid, but solid 6-point floor, you go with Harris. If you need 15 points based on your matchup out of this, then you almost need to go Hilton. I don't see Harris having upside in this matchup. Dallas is not a good matchup. Remember, they're down linemen still. They got one. Wynn is back, but they're still down Trent Brown. They're down two linemen still, and Dallas is not a good matchup for them. So that's so I'm going to say Hilton has low floor, but potential ceiling. Harris just has floor this week. So that's what I'd advocate there. All right, let's see. Now, Johnny Football. The questions you guys aren't seeing displayed on Twitter and YouTube are coming from Instagram as well. All right, Johnny, you got Brandon Cooks, Chase Claypool, Khalil, Herbert, or one. I want everybody to hear this about Chase Claypool. Everybody who's listening to me, you knew before the season, I was down on Claypool. And the reason was Ben can't throw deep with any consistency. And they were using Claypool as an outside deep threat receiver. But the week Deontay Johnson was out, Claypool took that role. 15 targets, 9 for 96. He not as great as we like, but it was the production for PPR was great. And then last week when Juju Smith-Schuster went down, Claypool was moved on routes that were isolating him on linebackers. Major mismatch. So with Juju out for the season, I believe that he is a phenomenal play the rest of the way. Claypool is a wide receiver too going forward. And I think against Seattle can't cover anybody. Now, you know I love Brandon Cooks, one of my most rostered players in fantasy. But Chase Claypool in his situation with Juju out and with a great matchup here. I like them both, but I'm going to say Claypool here because Brandon Cooks we don't like his target share last couple of weeks. Claypool for me. All right, let's see. All right, you're welcome, Wadeo. And anybody else on Instagram, you have questions, go ahead and put them on there. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Martin, Kadarius Toney or Manny Sanders in the flex? Here's my concern with Toney, and I'm not sure what we're going to get here. Toney did his damage in the slot the last couple weeks. Now, this week they play the Rams. Sterling Shepard's back. Now, does that mean Sterling Shepard goes to the slot and Toney goes outside? If Toney goes to the outside, massive advantage because the Rams are playing Jalen Ramsey in the slot over half of the snaps. Toney has no chance against Ramsey if he's in the slot. But we don't know how well Toney will do on the outside. The product of his production could have been the slot play. So for me, I have to take one more week. Now, he blows up. He could. But Manny Sanders has had a very secure role in this offense. Teams are worried about Diggs. He's getting open downfield, and we see Josh Allen has an affinity for throwing him. Tennessee, they do very well against wide receiver ones typically, but anybody who moves around or is not in that role has been very productive. So I'm going to say Manny Sanders this week. But if you have a gut feel on Tony, go ahead. But I'm very concerned about how he's used, where he's used with Sterling Shepard back. It's a very legitimate concern. Okay, Francisco, you've got, and I can't post this on Instagram, so those are on the other one. You can't see it. Alex Collins or Javonte Williams. I'm a little concerned with Collins' matchup. Now, first of all, he'll lose passing down work to DJ Dallas, so he's not likely going to be a 3-down back. They're playing Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's very good in the front seven. Everybody's healthy for them now. And I don't know how much Geno's going to move the ball against Pittsburgh. And so my problem is if they're not deep in the red zone, Alex Collins needs a touchdown or so to really pay off. I don't think he has a lot of upside here. And that concerns me here. Now, those who saw Geno on Thursday night, he played pretty well. Understand this. A, the Rams were playing prevent defense because they had a double-digit lead. B, the defensive game plan is for Russell Wilson. Geno hadn't played a game, 4 years, other than maybe relief. And so there was no game planning for him. This week, there will be game planning for him. So I am very concerned. So that said, I'm going to go Javonte Williams because at least his role in that offense is secure. I think he gets the Raiders. They can move the ball. They're going to have to run, I think, because the pass rush, I think the pass rush with Teddy. I think Javonte probability-wise is like 55 to 45%. It's close, but it's Javonte for me. All right, let's go back to the YouTube and Twitter here. All right. John, need one New England or Denver. I got to go Denver because, Derek Carr and Denver's not pressuring great. Understand. Von Miller's getting it done, but nobody else's. But I think that loss of John Gruden hurts. Gruden's a phenomenal play caller. Say what you want about him, don't like him. I get it, all that stuff. But John Gruden has really schemed things up well for Carr. I don't think the new coach is going to have that ability to stack plays. It's not just a system. It's stacking plays and setting up defenses. Gruden is very good at that. So what I want you to say is now New England's not a good option either. They're playing Dallas, and they are not. Dallas is going to run the ball down their throats. They'll throw when they have to, but give me Denver. Give me Denver here because, again, I think the Gruden loss is going to be understated. There might be some interceptions here. Back to Instagram. Wadeo, I answered it for you, but what's my feeling on A.J. Brown if you're playing on a snap count? All right, so no, I think you play A.J. Brown. I wonder if this is gamesmanship by Tennessee, too. They're playing Buffalo. I wonder if this is gamesmanship. But when A.J. Brown was on the field last week, he was running routes on 93% of those snaps, and he's going to be used. You have to play A.J. Brown here because I know he hasn't done well, and I know the matchup against Buffalo is tough, but he's A.J. Brown. He needs one short pass that he could take to the house. And I do like James Washington, understand. But we got to see where James Washington's role is. We don't know if he's going to take the Claypool role on the outside where Claypool goes inside more like he did last week, where they can weaponize it more. And I have to see where Washington's stationed. If Washington's outside, that's where Ben was problematic. If Washington goes inside, and we're not going to know this till after this game, so I think you go with A.J. Brown. When we get a clearly defined role for Washington, I think we figure it out there. I'm going to come back to Instagram in a second here. And Johnny Football, Denver D all day. There you go. I like that. Randy, I'm going to come to yours in a second. I got 2 Instagram questions here. Statsman, is there an expected return date for Goddard? You know what? As far as I saw in the Rotowire feed, they were expecting it to be next week. And I hadn't heard much otherwise, but we're going to have to wait midweek on that. If you want, as of right now, I'm going to say next week he should, but we don't know for sure. A lot of that gets kept quiet until the Wednesday practices. Now, Dalvin Cook, understand the top defense thing. Carolina had some cake opponents. Dallas, they played, and Dallas ran it down their throats. Now, I think physical running offense is like the Vikings, where their line for run blocking is underrated. It's a scheme they run. And I don't think they're going to have an answer for Dalvin Cook. Honestly, I have Dalvin Cook, now that his ankle is healthy, I have him as number 1 play on the board this week. I think he's going to come in. He's going to run for 120-plus yards and to find the end zone multiple times. I think Dalvin Cook's in a really good spot here. And one more before I get back to Randy's question here. Dash, you want to know behind Tyreek Hill? It's next ranked receiver. It's going to be Devontae. The Bears do not cover wide receiver ones very well at all. And that is exactly what he is. And there really is no number 2 in Green Bay. I could see Devonta getting 17 targets today. All right, Randy, here we go. 3 of the following non-PPR: Tyreek, Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Mike Williams, and Tony. You got to play 3. All right, Tyreek, I am gambling that he is going to be a quad. If he's on the field, he's going to be himself. I believe they're going to use him. When the Chiefs play non-familiar opponents, I pointed out on the Sirius show yesterday, he has smashed almost 200 yards a game against the non-familiar opponents. The familiar opponents keep him to about 70 yards a game because they know how to defend him with the high shell. Washington doesn't have that. I am going Tyreek. I'm putting full confidence that he could have a slate-breaking game today. So I'm going to go with him. Justin Jefferson is uncoverable, and with the J.C. Horn loss a few weeks ago at corner, they can't hang with him anyway. Justin Jefferson is an elite play every week. I think they're auto starts. Now, the third one, Tony, you heard me talk earlier. I don't know if they're going to play him in the slot, which means Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if they're going to play him outside because Sterling Shepard's back, but we don't know if his success was because of the slot. So we need to when you have good options like you do, we do a wait and see on Tony to find out what that role is going to be because you have other options. Now, your other situation is Jamar Chase and Mike Williams. So, look, Jamar Chase is going to be safer. I don't know how the knee swelling for Mike Williams, if they use him as a decoy, he could go out and put up another 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He could do that. Jamar Chase is healthy. He has a cake opponent. He's getting targets. Personally, I would say Chase to be safe, because we don't know about that knee swelling issue. And if Marlon Humphrey's on Mike Williams, they may decide to check down to Keenan Allen Moore. There's because you have great options. I think you go Chase and you take the risk that Mike Williams doesn't go off. All right. You're welcome, Statsman. And do you Venden? All right, good. I'm glad you agreed with that. Excellent. Johnny. Oh, yeah, Khalil Herbert has excellent fantasy value. You know, the Packers like DVOA, and I'm going to tell you what they are against the run. They're 29th against the run. They're horrible. And I thought that, oh, man, why do I forget his name now? I know it all the time. They're great defensive tackle. I'm sorry, I'm bonking on his name right now. I never do that, but I am right now. Anyway, he hasn't brought it this year. When he was healthy, you couldn't run on them, but when he was out, you could. They're running on him this year. And Herbert had 18 carries. He was mixed in early last week. Herbert runs powerfully with authority, not a big wiggle guy, but he gets downhill, and I think that works well against Green Bay, and the Bears want to run the ball. He didn't see a target last week. I don't know if he sees targets this week, but he definitely has fantasy value. And I have him in a DFS lineup as a free square, 4,600 on DraftKings. I definitely think that, the chance of scoring a touchdown is there too. I do like Khalil Herbert this week, and I don't think he's a bad player. All right, let's get to the next question here. Randy, Javonte, AJ Dillon, Sony Michel. The A.J. Dillon one's interesting, but the Bears are really good against the run. They are good at ganging up on it. I don't think this is a week where Dillon is going to be able to overmatch the Bears. The line is good. The linebackers are fast and active. I don't like the matchup for Dillon. I think Javonte Williams is your safe play. Sony Michel, he got touches last week, but remember, it was a short week game. It was a Thursday game, and I never thought Darrell Henderson was going to see a full workload on a Thursday night, coming off a rib injury. But I think on a Sunday game with 11 days off, I think it's back to 85% snap share for Darrell Henderson, because that's kind of what they were doing earlier. So I'm going to go Javonte pretty comfortably here because I think Javonte's floor is safer. None of them have vast ceilings unless an unforeseen situation happens. Again, on Instagram, if you have questions, feel free to jump those on there. You won't be able to see what I'm answering on Twitter and YouTube and vice versa. Rob Kane. Thielen or Pittman in PPR. Adam Thielen, he had the touchdowns, 3 of them in the first 2 weeks. His yardage has been really low the last couple of weeks. I really wonder, love the guy. He's a great red zone option. I just wonder if age is catching up with him. Now, he's on the wrong side of 30. It appears to me that he's not quite the same guy. And we saw signs of this last year. The yardage, the average length of route has gone down. It's like minuscule now. I got to go Pittman. Pittman's seeing a lot of targets. They're facing Houston. Houston doesn't have any pass rush. I know they can run on them, but I think Pittman's going to continue to be that alpha for them. I go Pittman fairly easily at 65 to 35% there. Instagram, again, welcome. Any questions, go ahead and pop those on. Johnny Football, bigger game, Derrick Henry or Najee Harris? Yeah, Pittsburgh's playing Seattle, so that definitely helps. Derrick Henry, they're playing Buffalo. And, in Tennessee is not afraid to run him if they're down double digits. They keep running. They could be down 17 points early in the second half, and they may keep running Derrick Henry. But I think that Buffalo could get out far enough, on the scoreboard, that they may game script out Henry. I think that could happen here, and I think they may have to lean a little bit on Julio and A.J. Brown this week. So I'm going to say Najee Harris has the bigger week. But if you're deciding I'm in a lineup, it's got to be Derrick Henry. But if you're talking about DFS, Najee Harris is cheaper, and you're paying up for Derrick Henry. Well, it has to be a full slate, Thursday through Monday. But if that's your question, that's what I need to say. But I think Najee Harris matchup and Henry potentially being scripted out, that makes me concerned. Greg, with injury, COVID, and buys, forces are Pollard, Jamal Williams. You know what? The Patriots struggle to stop the run. DVOA, they're 8th against the pass, 22nd against the run. But even from schematic, stylistic point, Dallas should run the ball down their throats. And even if Tyron Smith is out, their line has been very, very good. A lot of their players who were backups last year at Forson, they got experience. They became good. So to me, it's Pollard pretty easily. Jamal Williams is coming in with an illness, a rib injury. And, I wonder if that's going to limit him a little bit. So I think Pollard has a secure 10 touches, but he has explosiveness. And I think if they get out to a bigger lead, remember Zeke's dealing with ribs. So if Dallas somehow gets out to a bigger lead, then it could be possible that they let Pollard get a little more run late in this game. That's why I like him better. Randy, A.J. Brown or Tony, I understand. The Bills' defense is tough. A.J. Brown, and this is something that sometimes we don't think about this. And I know he hasn't done much this year. He's still A.J. Brown. If they get the ball in his hands, he's capable of running around you, through you, or by you. And I don't care if Tre'Davious White's on him, but they put Brown in the slot a lot anyway. But I honestly don't care. Even if it's Tre'Davious White, if they put the ball in A.J. Brown's hands, he's likely to perform. Tony, again, I told you my concerns earlier. If he plays in the slot where he's been uber productive the last 2 weeks, he catches Jalen Ramsey, who plays there more than half the time. He's screwed there. If he goes to the outside, we don't know how good of an outside receiver he is. Because Sterling Shepard's back, because Sterling Shepard could go into the slot. So I'm going to say, look, A.J. Brown, I'm going to bet on his body of work here, even though he hasn't been good to start the season. I'm going to bet on him because I'm a little bit concerned about Tony's role here. Now, if Tony balls out this week, he's a must start the rest of the way. But right now, I got to say A.J. Brown. Bears prop bets today. In their Bears game, Devonta Adams on the yardage, because the Bears are horrible against wide receiver ones. They're good against everybody else, but they have a real blind spot to wide receiver ones. And this is going to be one of those 17 target games, I think, here. So on the Bears side itself, too tough to call. Mooney on the over yardage, they're down 2 corners, Green Bay. Mooney in favorable matchups has done well so far. So that's been something to consider there. Instagram, hello, too. If you have any questions, type them out, and I'll see them on the screen and roll with you there. Back to Twitter and YouTube. Rob, Tim Patrick or Alex Collins? Tim Patrick just gets it done. Even if he doesn't have a lot of targets, he gets it done. And the Raiders are really banged up at cornerback. And Tim Patrick, he actually last year was more like a downfield threat. This year, he's running more diverse route tree. And so I think his targets are fairly stable. Last week, he saw a lot of underneath stuff. Beautiful. Alex Collins is a really tough matchup with Pittsburgh. I'm concerned Geno Smith has a hard time moving the ball consistently, so there may not be goal line looks. And now if you give me some empty calorie touches, I'm not as excited about Alex Collins. And also, I expect DJ Dallas to take passing down work. And if they fall behind, that could game script Collins out. Patrick, I think, is involved no matter what. I think Collins is a safer play. John, can you start Terry McLaurin and Mike Williams? I think McLaurin, from the overnight report that Adam Schefter retweeted from one of the ESPN guys, it sounds to me like McLaurin is good to go. You got to roll with him, I think. They're playing Kansas City. If he plays a half of football against them, he can put up 100 yards on a touchdown. Mike Williams, I'm a little more concerned with the knee swelling there. He could be a decoy. He is going down to game time, where Terry McLaurin has said they expect him to play before the pregame warmups. So those are my concerns there. So Mike Williams, yes, a little bit of a concern there. You'd have to have a pretty good option to sit Mike Williams. But Terry McLaurin, I'm good with him. Mike Williams depends on your other options. Randy, prop bets and parlays this week. You know, it was a weird week. Dalvin Cook on the over, 100%. He has like 70-yard yardage prop. I think he crushes that. He's fully healthy. He's off the injury report. That's a big one for me. It's a layup, but like I said earlier, the Bears can't cover number one receiver. So Devonta Adams, this is like a smash spot for him. So over on the yardage, I don't care if it's 95. He should easily break the 100-yard plateau here. Bears stop the run well too, so they're going to have to throw some. I like those. Hunter Henry has a great matchup against Dallas. I like the over there. There's some tight ends with some real good matchups this week, actually. Mark Andrews is a phenomenal matchup against the Chargers. So he would be a good bet on over for yardage this week. That's going to be a place to attack where they do well against receivers, but they have a blind spot against tight ends. So those are some props there. Tony or Pollard, that's an interesting one. So I don't know how long you've been on, Big Ham. Somebody sent a request to be in the post. Hang on. Oh no, I can't let somebody. I can't let. I'm Ace Acres Bob. I can't let you in because I'm just doing this for Rotowire. So I gotta. If you have a question, type it out. But I'm doing 3 different platforms. I'm sorry. I appreciate you though, man. All right, Tony or Pollard in the flex. So if you heard me earlier, my concern is this: Kadarius Toney blew up playing the slot the last 2 weeks. Sterling Shepard is back this week. He's their typical slot guy. Now, if that moves Toney to the outside, we're not sure how he functions as an outside receiver. Great catch out of the middle by Jamal Agnew. So the concern is now, if Toney stays in the slot, Shepard can play outside. But if he does, the problem is this. Jalen Ramsey plays the slot more than half the time, and therefore Toney would be screwed in that situation. Pollard gets his 10 touches. They're playing New England, who really struggles against the run this year. And Zeke has ribs and an injury. And so if they get to a lead, they could back off Zeke late in the game. So little concern there. So I mean, for Zeke, but for Pollard, that's better. So Pollard, I think Pollard is safer. But if you need upside, if you need 20 points out of this position, Toney would be your play. If you need 10 points because you're in a close set game and you just need those bankable points, Pollard's your bankable points because I think he gets a little more work than usual. He gets you close to 10 PPR this week. All right, let's see here. Any other questions on nothing? No questions on Instagram. Randy, half PPR. If I had to drop one of the following, it would be Rondale, Ruggs, or Bateman. So Ruggs is pretty much seeing about 7 targets a game. Am I concerned that John Gruden's gone? Yes, very concerned. But we don't know what that means. Maybe Ruggs gets used more. So we got to think about that. My concern with Bateman. So right now, Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews have really established themselves for Lamar Jackson. They have been very, very productive. Now Bateman's in the mix. I understand he's probably more talented than both. But he's an outside receiver. Typically a low volume passing attack. Now, the last 2 weeks, they threw a lot. And so there's that. At the end of the day, great run by James Robinson. He fumbled the ball. All right. So anyway, I'm going to drop Bateman out of those because Rondale Moore, I still believe, is going to be an electric playmaker. And I think Arizona's ultimately higher volume passing. It's a tough call. It's Bateman, but it's not. It's if you have a gut feel go, I think Ruggs is just seeing too many targets to bump him out. Instagram, still see you guys there. If you have any questions, put those up there. Johnny, Rams minus 7.5, Colts minus 10.5. You know, Colts are coming off a short week. Very, very high emotion game. They had a big lead. They lost it. I'm very concerned. So I almost more lean to the Texans here. The Colts are kind of a paper tiger on defense. So it's just 10.5 is a big number and there's a hook on it. That number is 9. I'm a little bit more in favor of the Colts, but I think Houston is coming out and playing hard every week. And I think they can get David Johnson, and they're using him more as a receiver out of the backfield. Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins is back. And I think the Indy defense gives Davis Mills a chance. I'm worried about that one on both sides. I gave go either way. And then the Rams 7.5. I do think the Rams, they have an extended week. They played last week Thursday, so I do think the Rams are a good bet there because the Giants are all kinds of banged up and they're not very good. So I like the Rams by 7.5. All right, we got a question on Instagram. Mike Welch, Melvin Gordon or James Conner? So love James Conner, loved him all season. Cleveland's a different animal. They're really good up the front, and they're hard to run on, very hard to run on. And I don't know how many red zone trips because he's doing a lot of his damage at the goal line. Now, he can get those. Those always going to happen. A pass interference in the end zone, Conner goes in. So we got to think about this. We got to understand that. However, I think Melvin Gordon has that secure touch share about half. The Raiders have not been overly problematic. I'll check the Raiders' DVOA against the run. The Raiders are middle of the pack. They're like 14th. So it's not a bad matchup. I think Melvin Gordon is safer than Conner, and I think we do need to kind of look his way here. Like I said, love Conner, but his yards per carry hasn't been very good, and I don't think that's going to get helped against Cleveland, who's very stout against the run. All right, Rob, Hawkinson or Knox? Oh, that's a tough call. So you know what? I was talking about this in the Sirius show yesterday. Hawkinson finally has a good matchup. Now, he had a couple teams that were really gang up on him a little bit, and I know he's been a little bit banged up, but he seems healthier this week than he was last week. And Cincinnati does give up production to the tight ends. So we go with the elite player. Now, Dawson Knox can't knock what he's doing. Knox, I like that. But, we can't knock what he's doing because he's limited targets. He had the 1A target game, but he's getting open downfield, and they're making that work, and he's being presented with red zone options. And so Knox has real upside, but there's going to be those weeks where he just doesn't see those targets. And it's very hard to bench Dawson Knox, but you drafted Hawkinson to be an elite player who's played elite in the first 2 weeks, but then hasn't so much since. He's had 3 good games and 2 bad ones. But I think this spot is too good for Hawk, and I think that they get him back on track here. And I think his volume gives him a better floor, and they both have similar ceilings. I think that leans me to Hawk. All right, again, welcome those on Instagram. If you have any questions, type those through. Everybody else who's on Twitter and YouTube, you can see questions that are coming in this way on the screen. Henry loves Schultz. Risky with Mike Williams or play it safe. Darrell Henderson's in a great spot here. And last week he lost some touches, but I believe that was only because they were playing on a Thursday, short week. They were getting Sony involved. You don't want to push your players on a short week, especially at running back. Otherwise, Darrell Henderson, even when he came back from the ribs the first week, he was like playing almost 90%. And so I expect that to happen. And, teams are having to defend the Rams with light boxes because they've got to defend the passing game. And Darrell Henderson has taken full advantage of that. So I'm going to say Mike Williams' knee concerns me enough that Darrell Henderson has a great floor and a decent ceiling. And I think with Mike Williams, you just got to say, you know what, if they use him as a decoy, it's a chance that you don't need to take. That's the best way I would have framed that for you. I understand if Mike Williams goes and balls out, but the matchup is not the best matchup in the world either. He gets Marlon Humphrey on him. It's a difficult matchup. Not that Mike Williams can't win that, but I'm going to say Darrell Henderson is just take the safety move there. All right, Edon. Are Darrell Williams or Khalil Herbert? I think Jerick McKinnon gets involved as a receiver a bit this week. I don't think Darrell Williams comes into 20 touches. They were giving Edwards-Helaire 13, 14, and Darrell Williams was seeing like 8 to 10. I don't think Williams' role grows a ton. I think they get the passing game on track this week because they've been struggling, and this is a get-right spot. They need to get their passing game on track because they got a long season ahead of them. So I think I go with Khalil Herbert. He had the 18 carries for 75 this week, but the Packers have been horrible against the run. The Bears want to run. Now, Herbert didn't see a target last week, but that doesn't mean he won't see one this week with Damien Williams out. Even if he gets 3 targets, it's useful. But I think Khalil Herbert's a more stable play because I think the Bears do want to feature the run. They don't want to put it all on their rookie quarterback, Justin Fields' shoulders. Instagram question. You won't be able to see this on YouTube and Twitter. Prince Andrew, Javonte or Khalil Herbert or Alex Collins. So, again, I was just talking about Khalil Herbert. I do think it's a pretty secure role and a great matchup. Javonte Williams is a good matchup as well, but we know he's splitting that work with Melly Gordon, and I think Herbert is going to have more touches. And I think Herbert's matchup is significantly better than Javonte's. So I put Herbert ahead of him. The Alex Collins question is good because, well, Pittsburgh has a very tough front seven, and they're healthy right now. Everybody's like off the injury report. And I'm very concerned in that matchup. Geno Smith is going to struggle to move the ball, and I don't think there's going to be goal line opportunities. So I think your best bet is Herbert out of that group. And I'm going to go back to YouTube and Twitter and come back to Instagram for Hodginson's question. And Johnny, Dallas line down at 3.5. Any reason why? When inactives come out, you guys got to hit me to those. I don't know if Tyron Smith is out. That would do something to it. And it could be sharp money coming in. Maybe there's sharp money on the Patriots that push a line. You're welcome, Prince Andrew. So that's the only thing I could think there. Oh, that's the only one. Tyron Smith, that would put a little dent in Dallas's offense. They're still waiting Lyle Collins back from the suspension in a couple weeks. All right. Before I have the question on the screen, I have one from Hodginson. I can't remember if I can say it's a lot of syllables there, but he's a great name, but it's a little slow on the take here. Damien Harris or Latavius Murray. Unless I think Rondale Moore. You know what? So Lat Murray, he's getting a lot of snaps, but he's struggling to pick up yardage. It's a great matchup, right? Chargers can't stop anybody on the ground. But I do think he can get in the end zone this week. I think there's a good chance he gets in the end zone. I think there's a good chance he gets you 55 yards. So I think Damien Harris worries me. There are weeks he's 30% of the snaps. If they fall behind, they script him out. Dallas has a good chance of playing with a lead. And so that doesn't lend itself to a Damien Harris game script. So I have Murray ahead of him. But so Murray's going to be your floor guy. Murray's going to be your solid, like 8-point with a little bit more. But if you're in a matchup where you need to have, it could be good to play. Okay. So if you need 15 to 20 points because of your matchup, if you think you need like a real boost, Rondale Moore does have that ability. I think with this week, Max Williams, the tight end, is out. They traded for Zach Ertz, but he can't play till next week. I don't think they're going to trust Darrell Daniels. I think they put in the game plan for more 4-receiver sets. My guess. If they do, that means more Rondale Moore. So I think Moore is your upside guy. I think Murray's your floor guy. Look at your matchup and decide from there. Before I get back to Twitter and YouTube, I have one more question here. Booker or Khalil Herbert? Again, I think Herbert has a much better matchup. Booker's matchup's a little more difficult. Booker was bailed out by a couple of touchdowns last week. They both had bad offensive lines, but I think the Bears are going to take advantage of a bad matchup. They're going to get Herbert involved because they don't want to put the game on Fields' shoulders if they don't have to. So I'm going to go that route with Khalil Herbert. And Sprob, I'm going to come to you in a minute. I got a couple questions on YouTube, Twitter here. Keenan Allen or Julio Jones or OBJ? That's a tough call. So I think Keenan Allen's in. He's seeing 10 targets a game. We love that floor. If Mike Williams is limited at all, I think that he is going to see a little more extended use, a little more more than this, a very short routes. We might see a more intermediate. So I love Allen's floor, and there's some ceiling there as well. The other one is tough. So Julio and OBJ. Julio's facing a very nasty Buffalo defense. He hasn't played in quite a while. We don't know what his chemistry. He had the one good game with Tannehill, so we know that's out there. OBJ hasn't had a big game yet with Mayfield. Mayfield's missed him on some great scoring opportunities. I love the matchup this week. I think that they're going to have some play action shots. They're going to be open downfield. So Allen for sure. And of Julio and OBJ, if you need 10 points. You look at your matchup, I just need to save 10 points. I think Julio's your better chance to get there. I don't think Julio has a ceiling game here. If you need 20 points out of that position, you're willing to risk a 5 for it. I think OBJ could hit a home run or 2 today. So I think he's your wild variance play, but Julio's your safer play. You got to look at your matchup and I think decide it based on that. But that's how I would break that one down. All right, let's see here. Akers Bob. Jonathan Taylor or Antonio Gibson, good problem to have, right? If Kansas City gets out to a big lead, I'm worried to put McKissick in there, and it's a pain in the shorts because Gibson's a better receiver, and I don't care what to say. He can break any run to the house, but I worry about that. Jonathan Taylor, this would appear to be a game script. They could or should lead against Houston. Houston can't really stop him much. So Taylor is a much safer play. Gibson gets it done every week. It's a good problem to have. I think Taylor is too safe to sit because he has similar upside to Gibson. Where they both have that game where they can go off, but there are more scenarios where Taylor hits that 15-point realm than Gibson does. All right, let's see what else we got here. Johnny, Dan Arnold. Oh, man, I've been advocating Arnold for like a couple of weeks now, even before when he traded from that Monday. Dan Arnold he's a receiver who plays tight end. And they gave O'Shaughnessy, their tight end, 8 targets in week 1. He went on the injured reserve. They traded for Arnold. Arnold was traded on a Monday. They put him on a Thursday, had 2 catches for 29. The next week, I started him everywhere, DFS, whatnot. He had a great game last week, and he only has a couple catches a day. He had a drop. He had a penalty one where they roughed him up, but Arnold is involved. He's a part of this offense, and he definitely should be on a roster. And there are times when you can flex him as well. So, yeah, he's definitely somebody. I have a lot of shares of Dan Arnold because he's a wide receiver playing tight end, and with no DJ Chark, he's going to be involved in that offense a lot. He may score before this game's over. Again, on Instagram, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. I'm also on Twitter and YouTube, and those questions are being displayed on those pages. So you can't see the other questions I'm answering and vice versa. Randy, Denver or Cleveland, points and yards allowed count. So, you know what? I got to say Denver here. I mean, they're playing the Raiders. I think John Gruden being gone, he's a great play caller, sets things up. So I think Denver, that coaching loss is going to hurt them. The assistant's not going to be able to layer plays and set things up the same way that Gruden did. So I'm going to go with Denver there. Cleveland, Arizona is going to present them some problems. I know Cliff Kingsbury has COVID and he's out. I'm not really Kyler's Kyler. Kyler's going to make plays. Tua deep down the sideline. Oh, man, throws in a double coverage. He's not very good, in my opinion. I can talk about that in detail later. Randy, Tyson Williams inactive, and there we have it. You guys, guys and gals, those who have Tyson Williams roster, this is the problem you're running into. My belief is that he doesn't do the little things that the coaches love. Pass protection, pass route adjustments, the nuances of the game. I think Tyson's learning those. He'll eventually get them, but I don't think he's at that point. And that's why Coach Harbaugh is counting on guys like a washed-up Lat Murray, Devonta Freeman, because they understand the nuances of the game. As fantasy players, we see, well, Tyson's a better runner. He's more explosive. We're 100% right. But what coaches need is reliability. Keep my quarterback from getting his head taken off. Well, Freeman and Lat are going to do that. Tyson blew an important pass block in his first game. And I think that's been a lot of concern since. And he was active last week, inactive again. That's 2 inactives, healthy scratches. So I think fantasy managers, I think you need to dump him. Is there a world where he comes back and he gets a role? Yes. Lat Murray gets hurt. It could happen, but you're counting on a lot. Darius Slayton out. Thank you for telling me that works. Damien Harris active, pending. Schefter, pending approval from Washington football team. I don't understand that, Johnny. If you could explain that a little bit more. Pending approval from Washington football team. You have to explain that for me a little bit. I don't see any more questions here right now. If anybody hasn't, go ahead and pop those questions in there. I'd be glad to answer them for you. I know the football game's on, so I might have a lot of audience that's not around right now, which is next week we'll be back to normal, get a lot more people here, which is fine. I'm glad you're here because you're here and your time is valuable and you're spending it with me. It means a lot to me. Any other questions here? I'm going to wait a couple seconds here. If any other questions, you'll jump in here. Let's see. I said earlier, Minnesota, Carolina. I think Carolina is a good defense. I think they had an easy early schedule. I think they're a little overrated. I think Minnesota on the road, regardless. I think Dalvin Cook runs the ball down their throats. Say that this is a much better matchup than we anticipate. Green Bay, Chicago. I think this game, I know this is no genius call, but this is about Devonta Adams. The Bears don't, the Bears don't cover number 1 receiver as well. They do really well against number 2s, number 3s, tight ends. And this is like one of those spots where it's like a perfect match. And so Devonta's going to see maybe 17 targets here. All right, Johnny, it's a joke about Schefter's report this week. Oh, okay. I vaguely remember something about that. And because I work so hard on the football stuff all week, I'll see these little reports, but I don't even have time to read them because I'm grinding trends for you guys all week. So I'm glad you told me that. Appreciate it. There'll be a day when I have more time and I can get into those things. And like I said, I just want to give you guys the best content I can, but thank you. All right. Someone dropped Michael. Oh yeah. Pick him up and stash him on IR. Absolutely. What's the worst thing that happens? Zero. You zero risk stashing him on your IR. Definitely do that. He comes back, give him a game, see what his usage is, go from there. Absolutely stash him. And that goes for everybody out there. If you're looking now, Michael Thomas is eligible to come back as early as next week. I don't know when he'll come back. May not be till November. May not be at all. But if you could stash him on an IR, oh, yeah. And if you have a dead roster spot, definitely. Oh, yeah, Johnny, anytime. No, I'm glad I know you say some good things. And even when we're off topic, I have fun. You ask me those crazy questions sometimes about old school football players, Mike Allstott and the like. I love those questions. That's absolutely fine. Anybody else have questions? Instagram, I do see you there. I haven't had any new questions there, so good there. But nothing really going there. Well, if we don't have more questions, I'm going to go eat some lunch early today, I think, and rewind the second half of this game and watch us. Give you a couple more seconds to ask a question. And if I don't see a question in the next 5 or 10 seconds, I'm going to tell everybody have a wonderful day. Good luck winning your fantasy matchups. I appreciate you. Next week, there won't be an NFL game early, so we'll be on at the same time as always, but hopefully more of you are here. Long-term, November 13th, I'll be out of town, but that's a while away, so I won't be doing the stream that week. But those questions, we'll figure out we do something early, that we maybe a Friday or something. All right, everybody, it looks like no more questions. Have a wonderful day. Good luck in your matchups, and we will talk soon.